Alright, it's a bit of a long-term review of the 2019 Merida E160 900E. Had it for a bit over a year now. I think it's 13 months going on now, and yeah, it's going to give you my impressions of this bike over a long-term basis. So why did I choose this bike? Well, it gets you out and riding more, and I had a enduro bike, a Stump Jumper Evo, which is an awesome bike, but sometimes, you know, when you're short on time, you've only got 2 hours or something, you're like, I won't go for a ride, I'll wait till next weekend, sort of thing. And it wasn't due to laziness, it was more in that 2 hours I'd only get 1 or 2 laps in. And you know, you think about it, you spend 97% of your time climbing and only get two 2-minute runs in that time. So you sort of get a bit dejected, and you try and find excuses not to ride. And I always thought, you know, e-bikes are for lazy, you know, lazy old people. Not that I'm young or by any means. And I never quite got it. But then a couple of my friends bought them, and I'd, you know, ride around the street on them, and they weren't the big heavy boats that I thought they were. They were nimble somewhat, but they were, most importantly, they were just super fun. So you could go, you know, I'm on my lunch break now actually from work, I'm working from home, and so it allows you to do 2 hours and get, quite literally, if I'm in boost mode, I can do 3, maybe 4 times as much riding as I could in my enduro bike. So that's why I got it. But the decisions behind buying this bike, well, originally, you know, you think Merida, or especially in Australia, you think low-end bikes, but it's definitely not the case with this bike. But I test rode a few bikes. I actually went down Canberra and test rode as many bikes as I could over a long weekend. So I tried the Specialized Levo, the 29er, Specialized Canevo, the long traveled 27 bike, and I tried the Trek Powerfly as well. And while they're all great bikes, the Levo probably felt the most like my, oh well, it is basically an electric stump jumper of sorts, but I don't know, it didn't have that plow ability that these bikes do, that you can just smash into stuff and get away the other side fine. The Canevo definitely had that, but it turned everything into a non-event basically. Unless you're riding like proper downhill, it felt like the bike was just way overkill for that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was okay. Trek Powerfly was fun, very good climber. It was super long wheelbase, or chainstay I should say, but extremely heavy. Like that was up around 25-26 kilos, and the difference between 22 and 26 is huge. Like you can actually feel it like quite a lot. But the motor on that was a Bosch, felt good, rode well. But then I test rode one of these. My mate had one. I took it for a couple of laps down Tuggeranong, and it rips. Like it's so fun. It's got a short chainstay, so 439, relatively short. In 650B, they're pretty steep in the head angle, like 66. But just, it was excelled at nothing but did everything pretty good, which was fine. But most importantly, it was by far the most fun and had the best value. So I made my decision, I'd get one of these. All the best running gear, you know, Saint brakes, factory box stuff. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, basically why I've chosen Merida. So a bit about me: 34 years old, Got a daughter, you know, work full-time job, but just, you know, average sort of guy. I used to ride a lot as a kid. Like, I was right into downhill, like racing especially. It was pretty big back in the day, and yeah, that was like my sport, so to speak. But I turned 18 and went to the pub like a lot of other young blokes, and didn't touch a bike for another, oh god, be close to 15 years. And only the last 2.5, 3 years that I got back into bikes again, and it's the best thing I ever did. It's a great sport, great people, meet a lot of good people, and yeah, just through riding I've made some awesome friendships, so it's great. So what have I done to this bike? Basically the first thing I did, got it set up, suspension and whatnot, and coming from 29-inch enduro bikes, coming back to 27.5, although plus tyres, which are squirmy as all buggery. 29, once you ride 29 for a while, you can't go back. It's like you've done your dash, you're not going back. It's sort of like when 26 and 27.5 came out, no one went back to 26. And 29's the same, being, you know, 6 foot, it makes sense for me. So the first thing I did, I had a spare wheel laying around, and I did, you know, the buzzword, the mullet bike. So I put the 29 up front, and with the plus tire up back, yeah, it was fantastic. It slackened the head angle out, did raise the bottom bracket a bit, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. So yeah, originally in the mullet bike configuration it was awesome. Like, it cornered like it was on rails, but the front wheel just had the ability to jump over stuff all of a sudden, whereas before it sort of got hung up a bit. The back didn't matter so much. You can sort of be light in your bike, you can flick up the rear, you can skip over bits, but the turning ability of a smaller wheel is in the rear wheel. I think it's the front wheel has less of an effect. So mullet bike, all good. About 2 months in, which doesn't surprise me, the reverb died. What's the saying, friends don't let friends buy reverbs, for obvious reasons. Apparently the good new ones are good, but this was the hydraulic one that just died every 6 months, and sure enough it did for me too. Then I just rode the wheels off it for ages. Got the suspension set up for my liking, the grip 2 damper, so heaps of adjustability there, and it was just an awesome bike. Yeah, so I rode the wheels off it for a while, and then started pushing this bike more and more, realizing its capabilities. I thought, you know what, I think this thing would be slightly better with a lower bottom bracket. So got rid of the plus tires, which they do grip like awesome when you're climbing. When you come into a berm fast enough and you square it off, even with cush core, you can feel that tire squirming enough that it's not confidence inspiring. So on one to 2.4 Maxxis, learnt just use Maxxis and you'll be good. I'm sure there's lots of other good tires out there, but Maxxis works for me and it's easily available. So yeah, 2.4 inch dissector on the back, and oh my god, it made the bike even better again. So that lowered the bottom bracket by another, I think it was about 6 mil overall. Like, it's hard to going from a 2.8 to a 2.4, but the way Maxxis measure their tires, neither means what's written on the side. Don't worry about it. It's like, go by the calipers. And yeah, what a difference. Just made it bike lower, more sure-footed. It cornered even better, which is hard to believe. And yeah, I was stoked. What problems have I had with this bike? Well, it's not too many. And to be honest, the amount I ride this bike, been pretty reliable, to be honest. The big one was, yes, a motor did die. I don't think it was the motor that blew up. Just getting around this tree. Yeah, I dropped a motor. I believe it was the speed controller, so the little speed sensor down here, I think was faulty, and that was giving AW11, WO11, whatever it is, the error code. I'm sure anybody with an e-bike knows all about that one. And that was fixed up under warranty. I dropped it off Monday. I think by Wednesday I had the bike back. So as far as, you know, warranty claims and concerns, it's a non-event. They're that good. Let's pop this one. So yeah, don't worry about warranty. Jesus, it's wet. I'm not even gonna bother going through that. Which is cool, you know, got fixed up, no problem. So I've done another 1200 odd on this motor and no issues, you know, back to where we were before, running sweet. So it is loud. You can hear it probably now whirring away. And a few of the boys, you know, say, oh, who's got the vacuum cleaner on, sort of thing. It sounds like a bit like a vacuum cleaner. Compared to the Specialized, it's absolutely deafening. Specialized is quiet as a mouse, and to be honest, feels better to me. But yeah, I've had these mates with a few issues on their Specialized, unfortunately. Again, they get sorted out quickly, but you know, it's time you're not riding. I think I'm up to my 3rd chain cassette. Just the amount you ride and the torque you're putting through it, which it's understandable. To nothing to, you know, say that Shimano's quality is no good or anything like that. It's just part of the use of an e-bike. You ride more, you're doing more Ks, you're putting more torque through it. Sets of brake pads, again, same thing, just consumables. Other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing, I'd have to say. If you're in a second-hand market for one of these, or you find an old demo or something, jump on it. I can't say how good they are. Like, it's blown my mind how capable this is. It doesn't feel too heavy at all. Feels great. If I, you know, try and say, you know, all in hindsight and whatnot, but in hindsight, I'd do it all again. I'd buy another one, without a doubt. It's a little bit ugly with the battery being external. It's no big deal to me. I don't, you know, it's more about how the bike rides, but it is nice to look in the garage at the end of the ride and say, oh damn, that's a good looking bike. And to be honest, this isn't. It's not the best looking bike I've ever seen. Also, it's only got a 500 watt-hour battery. Now, it depends on so many different variables, like your weight, tire pressures, tires, terrain. The big one's is vertical meters. So yeah, where were we? Battery life. So I did a ride the other week. Just thought, look, I'll do more of a casual ride, bit of fire trails, bit of single track, nothing too hard by any means. I'm, like I said, 100 kilos, and I ended up being able to do 53 Ks, and that was the battery dead. So that's heaps. Like, that was a 4.5 hour ride, and if you're looking to do longer rides than that, just buy another battery, you know, put in your backpack or do a second loop, get back to your car, plot it in, and then you got 1,000 watt hours, which is heaps. Like, no one's going to ride that much in a day. Granted, that was on eco the whole time, so no use of trail, which is a massive difference in power increase. From eco to trail is like triple, and then to go into boost, it's another, I don't know, 30% again. All right, where were we? So I think another reason why I chose this bike was I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to suspension. So yeah, it comes with Fox 36 factory grip 2 160mm and a Flodex 2 up back. That's all well and good, but if the frame's not built to have a high enough leverage ratio that supports your weight and riding style, it's not going to be much good. So you have to excuse me, this bit's steep as in boost too. What an embarrassment. Yeah, so of all the bikes I rode, Specialized being specialized, they got virtually no progressivity in the back end. So I think a Levo you're looking at about 9%. Canevo's like 13 or something like that. It's marginally more, but and it does have a rearward axle path, which is great. But this one, I don't know what the actual figures are on it. I haven't modeled it in linkage. I can't be asked, to be honest. It's a lot of work. It is easily well above 20%. I'd say 25, if not closer to 30. So at 100 kilos, I'm running 190 psi in this shock with 2 volume spaces. Now on an X2, 2 volume spaces isn't much at all. So I'd bet the progressivity, that's a hard word to say, of this frame is up there. Which for a big boy who likes to plow along this chundery sort of stuff, it's awesome. The rear end's short, making hills like this is steep. The GoPro will do no justice. The front just wandering all over the shop, like it wants to be 2 inches in the air the whole time. So you put your seat forward a bit, you can get through it. It's not, you know, climbing for me isn't the big part of riding, it's descending. You know, you can tell by the way I'm just trundling up here. It's not, I'm not going for any Strava records. I'm just getting to the top of the hill just to go downhill again. So yeah, frame kinematic for this bike, awesome. Just your single pivot, linkage driven single pivot. You know, it's not going to win any design awards by any means, but a good I'll say a good one, looking at you Orange, a good single pivot like a common style can have a progressive rate. You do get a bit of pedal kickback. I don't notice it on this. I do have a common style Meta 29 and it's quite pronounced on that, especially being a flat pedal rider. I do dabble in a bit of clips here and there, but there is a bit of pedal kickback, but it's not too bad in this bike. It's like you barely notice it. And the guys I've got it here, it's 22.1 kilos, which you probably think, oh, that's stupidly heavy. For an e-bike, it's not too bad. Now that's with cush core in the back with a downhill casing, Maxxis, double down in the front. Like, it's not lightweight stuff by any means. It's got Saint brakes, you know, Fox 36, which aren't light. But 22 kilos isn't bad for an e-bike actually, and the weight's all centered down here, so you don't really tend to notice it a whole lot. One of the shortcomings of this bike, despite, it's not the bike actually, it's just e-bikes in general, and being a bigger dude, is there is a bit of flex in this fork. Now, yeah, I've added a 29-inch wheel. It has a bit more axle to crown, not axle to crown, but, well, you'd say it's stack height, which would put more flex on the head tube. But I can feel like, if I do a stoppie right now, I can feel that fork flexing, which is a bit unnerving. Now, the stuff I ride around here is pretty janky. A lot of rock, like sort of, you know, stutter, step sort of stuff. And I can feel that fork just, it's not diving or anything. I've got a lot of low speed compression wound into this thing. And it still feels like there's a lot of 4.5 flex. This thing's got Di2 gears. Now, Di2 gears are like 29-inch wheels. Once you go Di2, you don't go back. Right? You don't go back to cable. Now, okay, you're thinking, yeah, okay, cool. So what? Now, when you snap or break a Di2 derailleur, what do you think the regular retail price of one of those things is? $600, right? Now, I broke 2 in a week. So $1,200 worth of derailleurs in a week, which is, you know, don't care how much money you got, that hurts. So is that bad luck, or are the Di2 derailleurs made out of cheese? I think it's a combination of the both. I'm not the only person who's smashed a Di2 derailleur on one of these, but you know, I've got, my other bike's got GX Eagle, and that thing has been cartwheeled and smashed into all sorts of stuff, never broken derailleur. So I think these derailleurs are a bit more cross-country orientated rather than all mountain enduro. It's just a, you know, a thing to think about. But on the positive side, Di2 shifts crisp, it's accurate, it's precise every time. So stuff like this is pretty steep. You can, the GoPro you can't see, but it will shift from easy gear to second gear, whatever, without blinking an eye. You do that on GX Eagle on something this steep with this much power going through it, it's going to slip, it's going to groan, it won't like it. So I love it, and at the same time I hate it because it breaks and it costs a lot of money. But when it's working, Di2 can't be matched, unless like Axis, obviously. That's probably, I've never ridden it, it's probably amazing too, no doubt. But yeah, it's something to think about. I'm gonna wrap it up now. So E160 overall, year on, very happy. I'd buy one again and again, and look, it's, you know, if I, God forbid, snap this frame tomorrow and I saw one for sale second hand, I'd buy it probably. I'd have a second battery, I could ride all day. It's just a killer bike. If you want to, you know, downhill missile, yeah, okay, there's other things. If you want a bike for, you know, typical Sydney riding, these are the awesome. Like, get on it, get on board. If you see one second hand or ex demo, I don't think there'd be any around anymore, I'd be jumping on it.